All right, in this video I'm going to just show you how to use the basics of the gradient tool. So I'm going to clean some of this up so we can close down the image tray. So I'll leave, actually I want that off. All right, so what we're going to do here is just show you the basics of the gradient tool. So gradient functions a little bit different in terms of the colors. So you'll notice that this palette here gives us the gradient palette. When I open that up, you can kind of say, well, why doesn't it do what I need it to do? But you'll notice that anytime you click on that object, and then you need to click on the gradient slider, and that will give you the color options. You can see right here I've got a type which is linear, or in this case radial, and then on one side we have this color, and then on the other side we have this color. So you can see on the outside of this is mostly black, and then on the inside is mostly white. And then as you move this middle slider one side or the other, you can see it kind of increases one or the other, making it, you can see, darker on the edges versus lighter. So you can kind of adjust the gradient that way in terms of location. Now with radial, there's no real change when we do the angle. If we were to change the linear, let's say I want that instead of left to right, I can change the border here, or the angle here. You can see it goes from top to bottom because of the 90 degree. So you can actually change that. You'll notice that I can change and add another color. So now I've got actually 3 colors and 2 other multiples, but this is black. So what we'd want to do is be able to change these colors. And the easiest way I've found to do that is just to open up my swatches. And let's say I want a yellow orange, I can drag that here. You can see that it dragged that in. Or in this case, if I select this and drag my color onto this icon, it changes that to that swatch color. And let's change this to a red. So you can see now I have this nice orange red. So if I wanted to make that, maybe let's change this angle back to 90. So you can see that's how we've got this gradient. So I can kind of mess with that. So let's say I wanted to add another color in there. Let's add this brighter orange or brighter yellow. I could add that in there too, and you can see how that fits. If I extend this beyond, you can see you can kind of switch the order of those. So I've got a 3-color gradient going on here, depending on how much you want, different areas. You can kind of see how that works. So that's how that gradient functions in terms of the linear quality, which you can also change the angles, and then the radial. We can also open up in our swatches. You can see we have swatch libraries that will open up the gradients. It gives us all sorts of different options. So if you wanted to say, oh, let's look at metals, you get this palette here that gives us particular types of gradients. And when we just click on that, you can kind of see it's already got some presets going on, and we could refine those if you wanted. So depending on what kinds of gradients you may need, those can kind of work. So those defaults can be a great place to start. But personally, I don't use gradients very often with a lot of the work I do, but you can get a lot more detail with your drawings and your illustrations by adding gradients. It does get very complicated when you're trying to work with color and shapes and gradients, so you may want to make sure that you control everything, organize your work very well with layers. So that could be a tip there. The other tip that you may want is to select objects based on the same gradient, color, or opacity. Those things might work too. So the fill color would select all the same objects that have that same gradient. So that'll give you some choices there. But that's how you use the gradient tool.